Welcome to On Our Way with Beryl Botman in conversation with Celeste Amoo. Celeste is a remarkable person. She is a talented educationist and a linguist and teacher of note. When I met her, she was Celeste Perez. Welcome to On Our Way with Beryl Botman, Celeste.
Thank you very much, Beryl, who was Beryl van der Schultz when I met her.
That is so. And now that we're speaking about, do you remember how we met?
At UCT.
At UCT, yes. I remember the occasion. We were in registration week and we were on the same library tour. They took us on a tour through Jagger Library and showed us the classification things. And I don't know what it was that got us together because there was a whole group and I didn't know you at all. You didn't know me at all. And we met there and we certainly found something to giggle about from the very beginning. And that was in 1979. Celeste, you have been my best friend for a very long time. I now have a couple of best friends.
I'm so glad you remember details, Beryl, because I don't remember details as much. I think my memories are more to do with feelings and experiences in the round. I don't remember the very small details. And the other thing about you is I sort of feel like I just have known you forever. I know we only met in 1979 and that we then discovered at some point that you kind of lived behind the school where my mother was a teacher and that you knew my mother because she taught at Square Hill Primary when you were there.
Yes, Mrs. Perez, she was there for my entire primary school career.
Yeah.
Although she didn't teach me because I was in an Afrikaans class. And so there were many things, I think, about the two of us that was unusual in that day.
Yes.
As it goes, there was English speaking and Afrikaans speaking students and scholars didn't really mix with one another. And that is the first thing. And English is my second language. And you speak such high and beautiful English. Coming from Livingston, and that's another difference. Coming from Livingston with a proud history of resistance against apartheid. I come from a school that was just started in 1970 something. 1976. Yeah,
and actually, you say there was this division between English and Afrikaans, and to be frank, there was actually discrimination.
Yes.
Even when I went on to become a teacher at Groenvlei later on, I taught English as a first and as a second language, and I know that my second language pupils really felt that they were, less than. Even though one tried one's best to not do that, but there was that attitude pervasive in the education. I don't know whether that happened sort of outside of Cape Town, but I know that within the Cape education, there was that discrimination.
Yes, and so we broke that.
Absolutely. Were you in Mrs. Paulson's class?
No. In sub A, I was in Mrs. Valkesel's class. I only came half year because I started school in Elsie's River.
Okay.
And at Bali's school. I don't know what the name of the school was, but it was Bali's school. And Juffrou Bali was the principal. And it was just from grade 1. Sub A to grade 1. And then sub B, I was in Miss Johnson's class. Yes.
Okay. I'm asking because my mother had this good friend who was the Afrikaans teacher, Mrs. Paulson. She also lived in Lansdowne somewhere and they traveled together.
Yes.
But the thing about them was that they were also good friends, one English, one Afrikaans.
Yeah.
And on one occasion, Mrs. Paulson sent one of her pupils to my mother's class to ask if she could have some sellotape.
Yeah.
But she spoke in Afrikaans, this child, you see. And my mother wasn't very good at Afrikaans, shall we say. And she said to the child, I'm so sorry, tell Mrs. Paulson I don't have any. So the child went back and said to Mrs. Paulson, Juffrou Perez het gesê sy het nie kleeflint nie, maar ek het dit op die tafel gesien.
It makes me think now how children ask, what is sensuous in English?
And quick, I must tell you another Afrikaans related story. Remember, we, in those days, I don't know what it's like now, we learned Afrikaans, or your second language, from Sabi.
Yes.
And I was in a school in Simonstown with my mother, was a stated one teacher. And the teacher brought us out, Mrs. de Klerk, God rest her soul, she's dead now. She had this, the mat on the floor, and then the children sat down, and she was telling us the story in Afrikaans. And then she turned to me, and she said something, and I had no idea what she said. And I jumped up, cried, and ran out of the classroom up to my mother's classroom with Mrs. de Klerk running after me. And my mother has these two people arrive there, and I'm in tears. And Mrs. de Klerk says, I don't know what happened. I was reading the story of Cinderella, and I asked her, wie is haar spoestertjie? And then she ran away. I mean, how was I supposed to know that haar spoestertjie was Cinderella? I could have told her that story backwards, Anyway, she loved me to the day she died. Oh, no. She, God rest her soul, as I say, but also she got Alzheimer's, like my mother did. And she used to phone every year on my birthday to wish me happy birthday. From that time, right until I was an adult. And the day I knew there was something wrong was that she missed my birthday. And I said to my mother, Mrs. de Klerk didn't phone me this year. And then we found out that she had Alzheimer's.
Yes. Do you remember how we started traveling together? Your mother, Marie-Louise, your sister, she went for a training course in, what was that?
It was
Marion Hill.
Yes, youth leadership in the church, and she went there.
Now, I had a driver's license because I grew up and I had decided quite early in my life that I will have a driver's license as soon as I may. You didn't have a driver's license because you didn't make that decision at that time.
No, I was dumb.
And so you had to take your mother to school, to Square Primary, which is right almost next to where I lived.
Yes.
But we traveled by train before then. We traveled by train, but it was the different lines. That time it was the suburban line and the Cape Flats line. You took the Cape Flats line from Witten.
Yes.
And I from is the other line.
To Salt River, I think.
Yeah, but
then we got the UCT bus.
Yeah, but I went straight the suburban.
Of course, because you could.
You know, that is how Cape Town was designed. I came from a retreat.
Yes.
Anyway, and then I just drove with you so that you can have a licensed driver to practice and drive your mother.
Yes.
And I regard that as our first traveling. And then we started traveling. We did many travels together. You are still one of the very best travel mates that I have. Apart from my daughters, you're way up there.
Thank you very much.
And I think the first time was when we went out of the country, was going to Germany.
To Germany.
Yes. That was really a remarkable holiday. We spent how many weeks with your cousin and his partner?
Yes,
Jerome and Christoph.
I think that we spent pretty much the whole South African summer holiday with them, traveling to, and they were very encouraging, made us do other things. We didn't stay on the same, so we went to Holland, we went to Switzerland. And different parts of Germany also, because they introduced us to people. I regarded that, and I still do, Beryl, that trip as, one of the important parts of my growing up.
Same here.
Yeah. Opened my eyes to lots of things, not least of which that my cousin was gay. I didn't even know those things. Very naive I was.
You know what makes a good travel mate is when you're with somebody, you have the same interest. You like the same things. You find the same things funny. And you can relax with one another. And you can have fights. We can disagree, but we get to some agreement afterwards, and then we go on again. And
I think we also gave each other a bit of space when we recognized that we were working on each other's nerves. Then you went off and, did something
took the
separate from
dog
me.
for a walk. I didn't do that.
No, that would have been me at that time. Because that's the other thing about you, or about our relationship, which was so strange, well, not strange, different. That I just love dogs and you were scared to death of them. And I had a dog. All the time that you've known me, I have had dogs.
Peppy.
Peppy, that's right.
Yeah.
And then moved on to Pax when
Yes.
Peppy died. And shame, you didn't really understand, I don't think, that relationship with the dog. But you were very good in, mourning with me, grieving with me when my dear Peppy first of all died. And Pax, of course, died much later when I was married and living in the UK and so on. But anyway, that's another difference. Of course, you somehow have overcome that, and you're quite a dog-friendly person these days.
Oh, I am, and that is all because of Ilse's dog. Ilse's my daughter. She had a little dog, a Jack Russell, called Rusty, and he just forced himself on me. And he didn't take no for an answer from me, and he wiggled his way right into my heart. And that really took that fear away. It took a long time. It's not long ago that when I moved into Wynberg, and that was in 2015,
Right.
I was still very scared. I was getting used to Rusty, but I was scared of other dogs. I remember I moved in and the neighbor's dog, which was not allowed in the common area to run around, ran alone without his owner and came to me, and I ran to the garage and I stood with my hands up against the garage door and screamed, "Now back!" But anyway, Rusty, now any dog I can go and pet, but it's Rusty, and then later Seamus came. Seamus also took it a step further. He's a very forward dog.
Oh, sit on your lap,
Yes,
does he?
yes. Rusty insisted to sit on my lap even when I didn't like him. And then I would say, "Ilse, you have to stop the car. This dog wants to be on my lap." But I'm really grateful for him because it's great to have a relationship with the animals, and he is the one that gets all the credit for that.
Yes,
Yeah.
I imagine that, for me, when I've had sort of big moments in my life, troubling moments, to cuddle up with my little dog was a great comfort.
Yes.
And that's another thing. In Germany, there was a big dog, Conrad, but you could cope with Conrad because Conrad didn't really
Jump on
no,
me.
he would just come and sit next to you on the floor.
Yes.
But then there were cats too, Beryl.
But the cats were in other people's home, wasn't it?
No, Jerome and Christoph had prize cats.
Yes.
But anyway,
Anyway,
the menagerie.
But they had their own room, that helped.
That's true. That's true.
That helped. So I just avoided their room. Yes, and then our local travel. It was the year. I think that was the year we was the end of our studies.
Yes, when we went on
to that.
Motalis.
That was also another eye-opening life experience that I really treasure. We traveled in a way which is not expected of us to travel. Yes, on Mutali's bus that we got in Guguletu.
Yes.
My father went to drop us in Guguletu. My father didn't know what this child is up to, but these two, they must go. He wasn't comfortable because it was not something that's usually done. But in Mr. Matali's bus, we went off to Tata, and we came back on the day that the schools closed, and it was packed.
Yes.
It was overloaded, that bus.
Very unsafe.
Yes, I thought they're gonna drop off these children along the way as we're passing the different villages, but that didn't happen.
No.
Until today, I don't recognize those roads that we traveled on. I have no idea. I've traveled a lot on the road in South Africa. I don't find those roads.
Now, the thing is that my mother's family was originally, my mother herself was originally from Mthatha, and they would travel to visit us on Motali's bus. So that's how I knew about Motali's. In fact, when our final year I turned 21 in that year, and I was practice teaching at Oakland's, and but we had this big, in those days anyway, I don't know if they still do that with the key and everything that you had at a formal party.
Yes.
And mine was at Savio, the party, and Mr. Motali brought my aunties from Transkei with the cake, because my auntie Ollie was the one that baked everybody's cake. So Auntie Rini, who was of course the queen of our family, she brought the cake. And that's how I woke up, like 5:30 or something in the morning, because my aunt was a big character, and oh my word, Mr. Motali himself brought, not in the coach, brought them to our house with the luggage, and heard my aunt shouting, laughing, Celeste, happy birthday. And that's how I started the day. I then had to go on to school because it was a Friday and I had to finish the week there.
Mr. Matali brought us also from Guguletu to your
house. Yes.
So that was for me. All my family lived in Cape Town, so I didn't have family outside of Cape Town to go and visit. So I went with you to your cousin in Germany, and I went with you with your whole family in Mthatha. And you know what? I have just finished writing my third book called When Two Becomes One. When two become one. But ek nou my grammar agter mekaar kry.
Yes, now that you are an accomplished English speaker.
Become one. And I use the blessing upon my marriage from Uncle Frank McGowan.
Bless him.
Remember what he said to me? He said, may you marry the one you love. Gertie's child.
Yes.
May you marry the one you love.
Yes.
And so I treasure that blessing, and his blessing really came through in
you
my
did
life.
Indeed, yes. Gertie's child.
Gertie's child.
Because that's how we, identify ourselves in our family. That's Thora's child. That's Dolly's child, and you were Gertie's child.
The first thing he asked me, what is your mother's name?
Yes.
When he met me. Yes. Yeah, so I've that traveling and us traveling together is really a major part of my education, of meeting the world. And so for that, I'm very grateful to you. And
I'm going to try not to cry here, okay, because I can get very emotional.
So our travels have taken us along our whole life. After you have left South Africa and you've spent decades in England, I visited you there. And we went on a little small 3-day trip through Southwest.
Oh, don't ask me about England. I just live there.
Yeah, and we traveled there.
We went to Bath. You had this thing about going to the World Heritage Sites, and you took me along with you. I want to just say, Beryl, that, we've been friends for a very long time, since 1979.
Yeah.
And that, not to say that we've had even contact weekly or monthly or even per year. There've been gaps in all of that. but our friendship has remained solid. And I think it's because we became family, not just friends. You know my family, I know your family. I walked your path with your marriage, with your having your children. You did with me also, and I think that that's what's kept us together really. And that particular visit that you came, you came as though you had been sent. I had got to a point in my personal life where I needed to be reminded of who I was, not, the person who had married somebody else, not the person who had given birth to three other creatures, but I just needed a reminder. And you somehow, I don't know if you instinctively heard that or if there'd been, my family had communicated that to you, but you knew it and you came. And soos hulle in Afrikaans sê, jy kom asof jy gestuur is. Well, I think you were.
I was.
And I regained part of a sense of who I am. I didn't know.
We have the sense of being in tune with one another, but I term, and somebody else also probably calls a soulmate. I regard you as I have people whose souls I connect to, and you are one of them. And remember, we can read one another's thoughts. We can even complete one another's sentences. We make the same silly mistakes at the very same time, and that kind of thing.
Yes.
And so, yes, it is.
And we've supported one another. I mean, I chose to home educate my children, which was a big thing at the time. And, even now, there's kind of unsavory sometimes connotations with home education. It's people think that you are some kind of a religious nutter or you want to isolate yourself and so on. And for me, it wasn't that. And you were one of the people who supported me in that. You didn't question my decision. And I think you understood also that I did it mainly so that I could come back to South Africa on an annual basis and spend significant time in the country with my children, so that my children could have a sense of, I knew they were going to grow up being British, being English, but that they would also have a significant understanding and feeling that they were South African. And they do. They're all in their 20s, adult men now, and they see this as home in the same way that I do. And you were part of that too.
And that is what I admire about you. And you were courageous because you stepped out of everything that was familiar. Even, I would say, how we viewed education, and how we would view maybe even homeschooling as being some privileged way of being taught or learning. And you stepped into what was needed for you and your family at the right time. I admired you for that. And I think your three sons are the most fortunate three learners because they had you as their teacher. And I regard you are my role model as a teacher. And I admire you for that. And I think I award you Teacher of the Decade.
Oh, thank you very much.
Just the year. So, Celeste.
Sorry, before you finish, I must have the last word.
That's fine. You can't have the last word.
Okay, you can have the last word after my last word. You equally have pushed me beyond my boundaries when I didn't think I was capable, when I didn't think I was courageous. You did that for me, and you said that to me, and you still pushing me into areas that I'm perhaps a little uncomfortable with, but you are showing me the way. And so I have to thank you for that too. Long may it continue. Don't know how long I'm going to live, but there's long life in the female side of my family. So hopefully we've got another couple of decades together to kind of push each other along. Thank you.
Thank you, my dear friend Celeste. Thank you for joining On Our Way with Beryl Botman in conversation with Celeste Amoo. Walk tall, tell it all. You've been listening to On Our Way with Beryl Botman. You can purchase my books online on Amazon, Take a Lot, and at bookstores like Exclusive Books, Bargain Books, Independent Bookstores, and Barnes & Noble internationally. To connect with me, please follow me on Facebook to learn more about my book launches and talks. You can write to me at beryl.botman60@gmail.com. Thank you for listening.